Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Tuesday evening talking timeshares. Starting a little bit early, a couple seconds. We'll get people to, all right, now people are coming in. Start about 30 seconds early, and usually it takes a little bit longer for the stream to initialize. But we are here, and welcome everyone to Timeshare Tuesday Recap Live. You can think of this as your weekly owner update, except I'm not trying to sell you points you don't need. This week, we're going to dive into the most interesting stories from the past 7 days in the hopes of achieving a perfect 50-50 distribution of entertaining and informative. And yes, you get to jump in too. Owners are live, chat is open, and no topic is off limits. Let's dive right in. The very first topic, the most interesting topic that I found over the past week was our own destination timeshare. I'm sure he's online and ready to tune in. Hi, Claire. Thanks for joining us. This topic about people stealing his pool towels. Like, this is actually wild to me. I will admit that I've been to a number of timeshare resorts, and I'm always fascinated. It's just like the beach. People just leave things around and are very trusting that it wouldn't take much effort if someone really, really wanted to steal just about anything around a resort pool. But it did surprise me to discover how many people run into the problem of people stealing their pool towels. I will say that I have run the gambit of various resorts where they provide you either unlimited numbers of towels in your room or provide some sort of service down at the pool where you can swap out your towels or get additional towels or whatever the case may be. I'm not sure how your resort handles it, but it seems there is a mixed bag in the strategies of how they manage pool towels. But in the case of resorts where you're limited to the number of towels and there's not an obvious exchange down at the pool, it seems that some owners are sadly taking it upon themselves to, if not outright steal someone's perfectly placed pool towel on the otherwise an occupied chair while they're in the pool, or in this case, sounded like they actually swapped it out or tried to swap out their wet used towels for someone's perfectly dry folded towels on a chair. And in this case, Jeremy actually caught them doing it. Was able to see them from his place. Thanks for joining us, Happy Ron and Diane. Thank you so much for joining in. He was able to see him and confronted them about it, where they didn't really have a good answer. I think people in the back of their minds, they knew they were wrong and expected not to get caught. And when you confront someone like that, they usually lock up and freeze because they don't have a valid explanation for their actions. They're basically kind of like when you were a kid and got your hand caught in the cookie jar. Sure, you could make up some nonsense, but both you and the person who caught you knew what you were doing. And so in this case, it's pretty wild to me. And there were this thread kind of went on and back and forth, and talking about, well, maybe they were renters or maybe they were exchangers, and owners might be more apt to certainly be more cordial or more thoughtful about something like that. In my opinion, they're just a percentage of the population of this planet are just assholes. I don't have any better way to put it. And for someone to think that this is okay, I don't think. I think if you're in that mindset and that's how you're raised, and you're an adult, obviously this wasn't a kid situation. If you're an adult and you're in the mindset, or you're raised, or you otherwise feel that what you did was acceptable, I would have to imagine that there are plenty of owners in that situation that fall in. Not that they're, we're talking about a huge slice of the overall population, but there's a percentage of jerks that are owners at resorts, and there's a percentage of jerks that are exchangers and renters and so on and so forth. I did tend to agree with the people that argued that an owner at the resort, someone who actually owns a deeded week, or that is their home resort and they go there regularly, is probably less likely. Meaning, if I was going to put a bet on it, probably less likely to steal towels from someone else. But that said, I don't think anyone can make the claim that 100% of the owners at any resort are wonderful people and are above doing something like that. I just think that there's that small percentage of the overall population, which when you think about it as billions of people, that's still a whole lot of people. Again, if you're in the mindset that you feel that stealing someone else's towels is right off their chair is an acceptable course of action, I don't I don't think being an owner at the resort is somehow going to change your mind. Versus if you're being a renter, again, I don't think that has a whole lot to do with it. And versus how you're upbringing and how you're raised. But that said, I do implore, and I do understand the issue that was caused it, because if you're limited to the number of towels that you're provided while on vacation and you can't easily get new towels, I can see, again, I'm not trying to dismiss it or claim that it was acceptable, but it's just another situation where it was caused by the actions of the resort. You're not giving people enough towels. You're not giving people a way to swap out their towels at the pool. And no, I don't think it's okay to steal someone else's clean towels, but it highlights a problem of, people don't have a way to get clean, dry, new towels when they've soaked theirs. And another point that was made was, the towels at resorts now used to be wonderful. I think it used to be, maybe 20, 30 years ago where, hotel towel was, if not a robe you were provided, depending on the resort you're staying at, was wonderful. It's, super fluffy. And now it's, made of the cheapest, material, padded with cardboard and sandpaper, and just not something that you would choose to use to dry, or to use it for whatever you use a towel for, if you were given any other option. So, and I would imagine that is, that transition has happened for cost savings, as well as to deter people from taking them home. I'd imagine that more than one towel, super nice towel at a resort, had probably found its way into a suitcase or an online check bag or something like that over the years. But everybody wants to cut costs, and to provide that many towels per room. And I've never been in a resort where I felt that you didn't have enough towels. But obviously, there are some that are like that and only give you a couple towels per person, and you expect you to last the entire week. My wife likes to wash and dry things every day, so it wasn't really a big deal to throw all the towels we used every night into the dryer, or washer and dryer, so we had fresh towels in the morning. But I can certainly understand people who want to be on vacation, don't want to have to do laundry every night. It's not an unreasonable request, and to have an easy way for you to get a fresh set of towels. I know most resorts offer, you can call them up and they'll swap out towels in the room. But if I'm down by the pool, and I didn't bring 10 towels with me, and I've already soaked one, or my kids, if they're dropped one in the pool or something like that, I don't have an easy way to get a new fresh towel anywhere by the pool, except to go back up to my room, and I might have brought all the towels that I had. So is that excusing someone stealing towels? Absolutely not. That's absurd. But I was interested to see something further on, where something mentioned called Towel Tracker, which is, I guess, a system that some resorts are able to implement. It's almost like a vending machine for towels, where you put your room key up, and you're allowed to take as many towels as you want, because they're all tracked by RFID. So I don't know how they got an RFID tag in the towel. I'm sure it's sewed in there somewhere, or how that survives the water. Maybe, I guess technology has reached the point where this stuff is pretty bulletproof at this point. But that seemed like a great solution to situations or resorts that had this particular problem. I don't know if this is a rising problem. This is honestly, I've been in this for doing this for 20 plus years now, and this is the first I've heard of towel thieves. Although I'm not going to make the claim that it just now started, but it's certainly, kind of you see the parallels between that and the chair hogs, and people that steal chairs. And I would probably imagine that maybe you get the same kind of category of people, someone who feels that they are, obligated, or they have someone, what's the term I'm looking for, they feel that they should have a chair all day every day. If they've got down there and reserved it, it should be theirs for as long as they want. Probably feel that if they see a towel that someone's not using, that they can take that too. Maybe that's a poor parallel to draw, but it's hard to ignore the commonalities in the complaints of. It comes down to people just not really being mindful or respectful of the other guests at the resort, I think is what it all boils down to. So chime in if you've had someone steal your towels at the pool. I'm really surprised that there aren't more, personal belongings still in the pool. I know people leave their phones and have big giant pool bags, and that's why probably more and more resorts are going cashless, and so you don't have to take anything to the pool except your armband, so you can pay for everything. But you see stuff at the beach and you see stuff at the pool, and I don't see how you would ever find a thief who, was there just casually walked up and grabbed your bag and walked off. How would you? Yeah, maybe they have cameras, maybe they don't. But unless you're staring at your bag 24/7, that's I guess it's just a risk you have to take. But I don't see that. At least I've never heard of that being a rampant issue at most resorts. So maybe it just doesn't happen. Maybe the people that go to resorts are draw the line at what they're willing to steal at pool towels. Maybe someone's fruity cocktail or something like that. I really don't know. I'm not convinced the RFID tags are working as resort claims. I saw someone mention that they don't think it works. But I noticed when I went to the towel tracker site that they charge a monthly fee to the resort to use this. So I'd have to imagine that if it was a bogus technology, or just didn't work, or wasn't financially viable, why would the resort continue to pay the monthly fee to maintain? Does it look like it had software and you could track everything based on room key? I mean, it's pretty pretty impressive for, for what is like tracking a towel. Yeah, the fact that, you're not just buying the equipment to put on site, but you're paying a monthly subscription fee to run that service. I would think that most resorts would have ditched that a long time ago if it didn't actually provide at least some semblance of ability to track. Maybe it's just a deterrent. Maybe it's worth, cost. If they're able to save the amount of money it costs them in the monthly service fee just to run that and plaster all over the resort that hey, your towels are tracked, so don't steal them and don't use them and return them to your room. I will say the last resort we stayed at in the Holiday Inn that River Island, it did mention that the towels at the room are tracked and recorded, and there were just a ton of them. We must have had 50 towels in that room. It was ridiculous for a 2-bedroom, but unless someone's counting before and after, I mean, I certainly didn't count how many we had before. I certainly didn't count how many after. I know we didn't take any home, but I didn't get a bill afterwards, and maybe we left a couple by the pool or picked up extra ones in a big pile, or I don't really know. But I can't imagine that someone's going into that room and counting all of the towels, especially since they were just throwing in the tub at the end of the day. And maybe they do. Maybe that's how they do it at Holiday Inn. But no, I mean, I someone else mentioned that I can't fathom that they're losing just countless millions of dollars a year in lost towels. Certainly more probably cost in laundering all of those towels being swapped out versus people doing them in their room. So yeah, deterrent is the key word. Yeah, maybe that's absolutely the case. Maybe it's worth, I didn't see what the cost was at hundreds a month or thousands a month or tens of thousands a year. But if they're saving that much in lost towels just by implementing that, then I can absolutely see that as being a beneficial thing for a resort to implement. I've seen the iron-on tags, but how can it really be automated? Well, it from what I saw, it was essentially a vending machine, and in order to open the door, you had to put your room key up, and so room key up, it tracks who's opening the door, and however many towels you take out, it can track that those have left the vending machine. We'll just call it a towel. We'll call it towel. And so that room is registered as checking out 4 towels. If you don't have those in your room when you check out, or they don't get returned to the resort, the RFID suddenly quote unquote go missing, then I guess you're billed for them. I really don't know, but you may have hit it right on the head. It could just be a deterrent and not actually doing any sort of realistic tracking other than being able to see how many people took towels out of the machine. I can see it working in that regard. I don't think it is like a GPS tracker that can somehow identify the towel on the resort ground somewhere. I think it's a towel in, towel out type situation, and they can somehow, when they do the laundry or check out the rooms, the RFID is recheck back into the system so they can at least determine if a towel has disappeared from the system somewhere. They can at least see who checked it out, what room checked it out last, and if you've got 75 towels that you checked out, and that might raise some sort of red flag, and you're put on some towel watch list somewhere to be a force to sit through an extra sales presentation. Maybe that'd be a thing. A new gift that they can give out to people is get you 5 extra bonus towels for the week that you can keep in your room, or nice fluffy wonderful towels. That'd be something. Instead of a $50 gift card, you can get some extra plush monogram towels that you can use all week at the pool. So with that said, there are jerks across the board. It's not a timeshare thing. It's not a hotel thing. It's just some people are just jerks. And thankfully, I would say that the vast majority of situations, and in this case, it seemed to be a one-off. I don't think anyone had mentioned, didn't get the indication from the thread that it was a real major problem that people were encountering on a regular basis. Certainly not like the share hogs, but again, maybe people just don't realize it, or losing towels, or I would think that more people would be talking about it if it were a widespread issue. I certainly hope it doesn't become one, because that's just one extra nuisance that people don't want to deal with on vacation. You want to go on vacation and enjoy your day and live in the illusion that everyone around me is as forthright and raised properly and a perfectly normal functioning adult on vacation, trying to enjoy their time just like everyone else, even though that there is always going to be a percentage that that just doesn't apply for them. So what do we got? Our home resort bills owners and exchanges for any missing, torn, or really dirty towels. It's stated on the registration form that is signed and signing in the rooms. I saw that it's the same well when I checked into Holiday Inn, but do they actually track it, or is that just a deterrent? Do they actually count the number of towels in the room and count it at the end when they check out? I mean, every time I've seen the maid service come in and do a checkout, they're just throwing towels in a giant bag and throwing the bag in the laundry chute. No one's counting that, and they don't put a tag on it to indicate the room that it came from. It just goes in a big massive hopper, the cart that they're doing, and I'm sure it gets taken to a laundry facility somewhere where those maids and those housekeepers aren't doing the laundry. Again, they just every time I've seen it, and maybe just that's not the case, it just goes into a massive clear plastic bag, and that bag goes in with 25 other bags on that floor that they're doing, and it goes down to an even larger hopper downstairs that a truck comes up and probably just ships it off site to have it laundered versus doing it locally at the resort. So I just the curiosity is how does it track that? And again, it sounds like that even the systems that claim to be able to track it via RFID are probably not as detailed or as accurate as maybe they claim, but who knows? If it became a big enough problem and an expensive enough problem, a resort is going to take action to mitigate that. I just based on the reality, it sounds like implementing some of these processes, if they truly got down to that level of detail, would probably cost more than the actual line item cost for replacement towels over the course of a year at a particular resort. And I'd be genuinely curious what that is. If anyone's got it out there, it's got a maintenance fee that actually has a line item for laundry or lost towels or linens or something like that, replacement linens, replacement. I don't know what it would be under, to be perfectly honest, but I'm curious. Well, what is that line item cost for an average size resort? To either launder or replace towels, and are we just kind of making a mountain out of a molehill, or is it a really, really significant portion of your annual maintenance fees every year, the owner's annual maintenance fees? So our housekeepers do actually count and look at the towels. Laundry is done on site. Is that a smaller resort? Is that a big giant honking resort? For example, Bonnet Creek. I don't see how they would just be spending way more in labor costs and sunk time and effort to try and police that at a 5,000 room resort where people are checking in and out each and every week, than a smaller independent resort where that could absolutely work as a particular course of action. So yeah, small independent beach club in St. Augustine. I can see that absolutely. You get a smaller resort with a few dozen rooms or less than 100 rooms. To implement a process like that would make sense, especially if people are stealing the towels, especially if you have really nice towels and expensive towels. But yeah, for these mega resorts and multi-thousand room resorts, it's just one of those things where the cost of policing it probably exceeds the replacement cost, unless I'm just wildly off of my estimates. So going on to item number 2, this is actually wonderful feature, and not a whole lot to discuss here, but if anyone hasn't gone on the RCI website recently, look at Exchange One, and I'll give RCI absolutely thumbs up for this. Well, kind of a thumbs up and a thumbs down, because we'll talk about that in a second. But RCI has recently started putting, and if you guys can see up here at the top, the added resort fees up front before you make your exchange, before you make that reservation, which is absolutely amazing. I can only imagine the level of the number of calls and frustration and complaints that they had gotten from people who made an exchange and were charged, X amount of dollars for their exchange fee and or retrade fee or whatever they happen to do, and then get to the resort and see that the extra $175 charge when they got there, that it was probably in the small print somewhere when they made the reservation, but it just wasn't super obvious. So kudos to RCI, and again, I can only estimate it at how big a deal this was in terms of complaints for them to make such a sweeping change like this, because this has to get some people changing their mind about, hey, this what was a great deal at this price, but now I'm adding another $35 a night or $50 a night in resort fees. That makes that vacation less of a deal, so to speak. So that's an awesome new feature. Go check it out when you're trying to book some exchanges in RCI. One thing someone mentioned is that the kind of why you get the thumbs down on that is, I guess, with the website update that brought this feature, they took away the listing for the TPU, the estimated TPU cost. So people were complaining about that. It's not that it's completely gone, but that you have to now click on here. Let me see if I can find the screen where it had it, where you. Yeah, it's no, not that one. Come on, sorry. It's down here somewhere. Here we go. No, that's still got it in there. Maybe I could have sworn that was on there. But when you started to look at the possible your exchange results, when you looked at what was available for you, you were able to see the TPU on the front screen. And now apparently you have to click on each individual exchange opportunity to see the TPU. So it's kind of frustrating for people that used to be able to immediately scroll and see all of these opportunities and completely exclude ones that they didn't have. they were never going to get, because they couldn't do, the TPU of what they were depositing was just not going to earn that sort of exchange. And so now that you have to click into each individual one and see that TPU and then see, well, crap, I can't do that. That's too much. My exchange isn't going to go for that. So just added an extra step. So it took away functionality. I'm never a fan of that. I don't know why they did something like that, but it is what it is. So, again, kudos for adding the fees, which is, a huge benefit for people trying to do exchanges. I think the extra resort fees, or the fees charged to non-members exchanging or renting or whatever it happens to be, is just, it's here to stay, and it's just not going to get better. But at least now, more people are being transparent up front, instead of putting it in the super tiny small print, and having people check in and being shocked that the resort is now charging them, extra, a pretty significant amount of money per day, which adds up when you say, $20 a day or $30 a day. Well, that's, but then times 7 days, that's $200 or $300, so that significantly adds to the cost of a vacation, if you're adding only 10% or 20%. But the fact that it was not super upfront, and then still in some cases is not made super obvious to people, just leaves a bad taste in their mouths. Not that they might not have paid it to begin with, but when you're slapped with an extra fee at check-in that it wasn't made obvious to you that this is going to apply to you, just it's not a great way to start your vacation off. And I would imagine that they got a absolutely staggering number of complaints on this in order to make this change. But kudos to RCI for doing it. I like it, and I think other owners will enjoy the transparency moving forward. Going on to option 3, this is another tug tip. I will say that the individual was super annoyed and frustrated that they weren't able to add the Marriott reservation that they made through Interval to their Bonvoy account, and they were trying to do it. Super frustrating, and at the end of the day, they had to call. And that's just, it's 2025. You advertise, the website, you have the II website, you got the Marriott website, everything available on your phone, and they encourage you to do that. But to call, to have to call to just do something that should be seemingly simple, just not a great solution. And kudos to our own destination timeshare. Again, he's going 2 for 4 on this for his conversations. And I'll come down to the section. I guess the easiest way to add it, there are people originally trying to add it through the app, going through the Bonvoy app and add it, and that sometimes work and sometimes don't. But it seems like the main solution to this was, I think it was on page 2, let me go back, is to go to the Marriott website and don't log in, which is just absolutely fascinating to me. So here we go. The key is to not log in ever. Talking about the Marriott website. If you try to do this while logged into the Marriott website, it doesn't work. Don't ask me why. Ask Jeremy why. This is just a super bizarre feature, but apparently it works. So here's your trick. Hey, Jeremy. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. And so the key is to not log in ever. When you are logged in, or when you are logged out, and try to look up a reservation. The reservation is found. You'll get a pop-up box that wants you to log in. Don't do that. Do not log in. So that, I guess, for whatever reason, breaks that little box. Click the X in the upper right-hand corner to close it. Your reservation details will now appear. Now scroll down and click the small box arrow. So I guess it's the super. I guess there's a little box right here that you have to click on that expands this to allow you to enter your Bonvoy number through the Marriott account, which will link your Interval exchange, or I guess any Marriott reservation you make, to your Bonvoy account. Which, again, don't ask me why this is the requirement to link a Marriott reservation to your Bonvoy account. You would think that would be a much more seamless process, especially since if you're regularly making Marriott reservations, or if I'm making a Marriott reservation resort, you think it would make it super obvious for me to add this to my Bonvoy account, or to link my Bonvoy account to it. I don't know why it's so difficult. So yeah, I'm sorry. My bad. I did do it at 10 o'clock last time. We went back to 9:30 tonight. If 10 o'clock is more popular, we'll go back to 10. Maybe I'll alternate it and do an A/B test and see which one's more popular. Yep, did start at 9:30. Appreciate it popped up. At least the pop-up works to tell you that we're live. But again, kudos to you. Thank you very much. Look, you came in at the perfect time. For showing people how to actually do this, or the easiest way to do this that avoids them from making a phone call to Marriott customer service, which I'm sure, if anyone's calling customer service, is not a quick 1 or 2 second call. It takes you a while to get through the various layers of customer service and various buttons to push and questions to answer before you get to someone who can actually do this. But now you're able to do it, even though it's frustrating and certainly not intuitive. But again, these are sort of the super helpful and informative tips that Tug members share with each other to allow them to save time and in this case save yourself a lot of frustration in trying to link your Marriott reservation to your Bonvoy County Marriott reservation. I will say the last time I did it, when we stayed at Harbor Lake, I went to the Bonvoy account and I was able to add it. Or no, did I went to the reservation and I added? I'm trying to remember. It didn't pose a problem to me as I was doing it through the app, because I specifically installed the app just because they said that if I use the app, something I showed the app while I was there, I would get 10% off everything, even though it didn't wind up being the case. I could just ask for it. But yeah, I didn't have an issue in finding the reservation through the app, but apparently that is a big deal now. Maybe the app had a recent update and doesn't allow you to do that now. But yes, thank you very much for this super awesome Tug tip. Again, just to repeat, you can go to the link to this entire thread so you can view it in detail. Is in the website, the live description, so you can view it now or view it in the recap. But 5-cent thing is go to Marriott.com website. Do not log in. Go find your reservation. You should be able to have a search box. I think there was actually a link for it that you can click on it directly. Right. Maybe not. Maybe, man, that's it. You guys, there we go. Log in reservation. So you can actually look up your reservation. Is this going to work for me? There we go. So take your confirmation number, which you have, first name and last name, and it'll find your reservation, but do not sign in. There you go, right there. Don't do that. Don't sign in. That's I guess the big deal. Once you sign in for whatever reason, the system breaks. I don't know. So let's say we got a comment. I think the MVC app that gives you the discount if you show it. Most resorts just give you a discount time to show. We never show it. And then, yeah, that was how I experienced it as well. I got something. I don't remember what it was, but I got an email stating that, hey, if you're staying at a resort and you use the Bonvoy app, you get 10% off everything. So that was the whole reason I downloaded the app. But when I got there, they were just saying, hey, anytime you buy something, just tell them you're an actual Marriott owner and you'll get 10% off. And that's what we did the entire time we were there. But yeah, I do remember when I downloaded the app, I was able to find the reservation and link it, even though in our case it was a rental, but didn't have an issue there. But yes, for anyone having a problem in linking the two, especially, it sounds like it's an issue when you are making these reservations through Interval. Go here to the Marriott reservation lookup. You do not log in, type your information in there, and it will provide you with the option to link your Bonvoy account to that, so that you will get all the happy joy Bonvoy bonuses and stuff. And again, I remember when I checked in, they just gave me 1,000 Bonvoy points just for being a Marriott owner and checking in. So don't forget to link that. They saw it right on the screen at check-in, and they say, hey, well, happy to have you. Here's 1,000 free points, and that and a cup of coffee, or send me that, and 25 cents will get you a cup of coffee. But I mean, it's free. I'm not going to argue against that. So linking the app worked in the past. Now we get an error when trying to link with the app. That was yes. So that would explain that. A couple months ago, it would work fine. Now I guess they have a new feature that no longer provides that to work. So maybe they hired some Wyndham IT people who go work for Marriott to work on the app, and they're adding these new undocumented features to the app. But for those of you that do encounter this problem in trying to add your reservation to your Bonvoy account, here you go. Click on the Marriott link. Do not log in and add it that way. Thanks again so much for that helpful suggestion. It seems there were a ton of people on here that were having that problem, and this solution was able to fix it for every single one of them. So, going on to the last fun one topic for Timeshare Tuesday Recap Live. It looks like, and this is not something that was technically new, but we're pulling it back because it actually got approval. And so now we have a new Hilton Hawaiian Village tower going up at that Hilton Hawaiian Village location, which I guess is both a good and a bad thing. Good in that it'll be a brand new, what is it? Something, I think it's 476 room, 36 story, 300, here you go, 459 room, 56 suites. So 500 plus new timeshare rooms for Hilton owners to I guess for Hilton to sell or to trade into and stay there. And the downside was that I think everyone was on board with is, this is probably the most overbuilt, overpopulated tourist area. I mean, I think it totally 4,000 rooms on this one location for Hilton Hawaiian Village. And so now it's just going to be a new phase at that same resort, and they're having to demolish buildings to build this new tower. So it seems like Hawaii is well on the build up train and into going vertical to add more space. But at a place that already has not so much limited parking, but I think one of the big complaints was the cost to park your vehicle at this location, because that's obviously their way to limit the number of spots. If you jack up the price to park there to absurd levels, less people will rent cars and stay there. There are a number of options that were provided to, bus lines, train lines, to get from the airport or get to where you're going to this resort. But when it comes down to the end of the day, it seems like the consensus was, and I've never been there, so I can't speak to this personally, but that this is an absolutely gigantic resort already, in an extremely popular, extremely, I don't want to say overcrowded, but I guess overcrowded. I could have sworn it said it was, did it? It's just not 4,000 rooms by Hilton property anywhere. I could have sworn it said it was going to be a timeshare, but maybe that's not the case. We'll have to now look into it. It's just, if it's just going to be hotel rooms, that would be less interesting for timeshare owners anyway. But except for the fact that now you have 400 more rooms and potentially 400 more people or families staying there on a regular basis, which will probably not do a whole lot. That's, again, if you're looking at 4,000 rooms, it's adding 10%, 10% more, intervals, nightly rooms available in a location that most people deem is already overcrowded. So I definitely could have sworn. Now I want to look to see. I could have sworn it said, and it was listening that it was Hilton Grand Vacations. So maybe that was not. Well, see, now I want to go look at it. Anyone looks at me, tell me that's a first spun. See, now I want to know. Hotels and hotels. They're getting rid of this really popular cafe and diner place, and they're tearing that down. Although imagine if it was that popular, it'd probably get its own location back in in the new tower if that's the case. But man, I didn't see anything about it not being a timeshare. Well, that would have been sorry, I must have missed that. But I go in there. I could have sworn it said it was going to be Hilton Grand Vacations, and it was, the link I saw was for Hilton Grand Vacations. But if it was just Hilton Hotel, although I guess you'd probably be able to reserve it using your Hilton Honor stuff. But again, the big impact, obviously, Hilton Hawaiian Village is a wonderfully popular location for all Hilton Grand Vacation Club's owners, and super popular location. Is going to get a brand new tower, and more importantly, it didn't sound like this is something that's going to go up overnight. 36-story tower, meaning all timeshare owners and people staying not timeshare owners are going to be experiencing significant levels of construction over the next umpteen years. I don't know how long it takes to build a 36-story tower in Hawaii, but I can't imagine that that's something that's measured in months versus years. See post 30. Let's go down. It's going to be on page 2. I got to set the scroll thing up. So see post 39, 30. What do I call? The new tower will be 100 highlighted the fact. Well, now I want to go back to the original press release. So I want to go, that's thinking I'll have to go back and look at that. But again, that was so well, I kind of put a little rain on my parade and talking about, I thought there were going to be a whole new tower for new sales, and maybe the suites will just be timeshares, or maybe it'll be 100% hotel. Now I'm going to look at it. I'm going to go look back into it and find out if that's going to be a timeshare, or any part of it's going to be a timeshare. It's just going to be hotel rooms. But either way, very, very happy for Hilton owners having more rooms to stay at on the Big Island, or excuse me, on that Hawaii location. But the downside is more and more traffic, more and more people staying there in already crowded locations, and potentially months, if not years, of construction for anyone staying there while this is going on. Well, with that said, we've got 33 minutes. Thank you all for tuning in. That ends our 4 topics, unless someone else had something they wanted to bring up or a question they wanted to ask. I'll certainly open up the floor. It looks like we got 7 or 8 people left on. I did see almost a dozen people at one point in time. So again, thank you all so much for tuning in on this Tuesday. Sorry we had a bit of a quick night. I guess 33 minutes, started a little early. I'll go back next week. We'll put it out at 10 o'clock. So we will see if that is much more convenient for people to tune in. But with that said, if no other questions and comments, I thank you all so much. Very, very blessed that you tune in again for another Talking Timeshare Tuesday. Also, I do hope that you guys enjoy the short videos that have been produced. I have to say it's super fascinating to go back and chop up some of these and get some of the quips and the quotes and the individual things versus having people go back and listen to me rant for 34 minutes to get some of these topics and some of those important things and cut them up have been wildly popular. I've seen some of them get in thousands and thousands of views so far on some of these, and it's weird. Eventually I'll learn how the YouTube algorithm works, but it's wild when you get one that will get 1,500 views in a day, and another one that will only get 50 views in a week. I'll figure that out one day. But again, thank you all so much. And then please give me a thumbs up, like, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this. And I will see everyone next Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys have a wonderful evening. Happy timeshare.